Hello everyone, this is Esper and we're back here on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical Hound of the Baskervilles."
Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. Alright, let's pause for a second here. I hope you've all enjoyed the series so far. I have. I'm very excited to start our last chapter in it. I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit longer than all the others, but we shall see. None of them have been super crazy long, but we will see. I'm very, very excited. I can't believe we're already to this point. Yeah. In that discouraging courtroom experience, we were first thrown to I can't speak. Let me get my bearing. In that discouraging courtroom experience, we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and in Sasaki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we have emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. So some time has passed. April. Our last one was in February. So it's been almost 2 months, because it was February 20th on our last court. So almost 2 months. I'm going to apologize beforehand if I say anything incorrectly. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I get to getting tongue-tied, cotton-mouthed with the more I talk, or with also sometimes they throw out some words that catch me off guard. So we shall see, and I apologize beforehand on that. Knock, knock, knock. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes! Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. I think Iris said that we should that she would make us breakfast this morning. So shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? Yes! Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in a fighting fit form. So, all the chapters at the beginning, like the little introduction part, they always, they're Watson's, like, version of what happens later. So I wonder what the Hound of Baskerville is going to end up actually being. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you fib to me, girl. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. Uh-huh. It was just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. Alright, I understand. I suppose Soseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him. Do you remember? Complaining of seasickness? But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. You mean as regards Lord Van Zeeks, the Reaper? Yes, I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled in significance in that case. Uh-oh. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved by the Reaper, right? Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on that very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery. Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps? Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the power of a sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. Maybe we'll be figuring out about that fire more in like a big plot or something in this chapter. I don't know. No, I don't think so. Apparently Lord Van Zeeks hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh. Yes, since Soseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial services again, it seems. Really? Just like before? When he wasn't seen in court at all for several years? It's just been me who's had to face him in this recent spat of trials then. Just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. Sorry, what was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Can we look around the room? It's spring at last and the weather's warmer now. I love the smell of the fire and the steam rising from the kettle. Oh, would you like some tea, Naruhodo-san? Thank you, Susasu-san, but I'm alright for now. It's green tea Susasu makes me from time to time, and ours is unique herbal infusions. This place is paradise for a true tea lover. Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to the British tea cakes, don't you think? That's where you make tea. So this is the tea set that Susasu-san brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk in my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter. Tea is a drink to be enjoyed, Naruhodo-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know. I don't like to see you screw up your face, so. With a shovel. A spade has been here since we started renting the place. Oh, that's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic there. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let's leave it. We've only been here in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look a little messy already. You should tidy up once in a while. Susato-san, I always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to pay for being able to further your studies. And time spent tidying up is time you can't devote to the same cause. And time spent on ridiculous arguments time that could be better spent on some simple housework. She wins, but I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. The drama doll I brought with me from home. Still the only one I colored in. I said I'd color the other eye once I won my first court case here in Britain, but you have one, haven't you? Twice, in fact. 'Cause I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. I tell you what, why don't you color the eye in once you think I'm a proper full-fledged lawyer? If you insist. Anything else here? I think we're good on this side. Okay, what's this? Ah, this must be the telegram. Let's see. Ah! No, you mustn't look at that. Not under any circumstances. Alright, I won't. I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san, but you can be very mischievous at times. Then put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it. Well, we were rather lucky to find an old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we put in there are doing rather well, and anemones too. It's a wonderful invention, isn't it? The sea behind glass, inside your room. Another example of Great Britain's greatnesses. Having to clean it out and change the water itself isn't so great, though, is it? Do you know, I've never seen inside your room there, Susato-san. Never even peeped inside. I should think so, too. Young Maiden's private chambers is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Whatever you say, young maiden. Alright, I think we're good here. So let's move. Go have some breakfast. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris. Iris. It's a shoe. What is it, Runo? What is that terrible noise? Sounds like a cat being strangled. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Harley isn't the best form this morning, it seems. Uh-oh. Hello. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Good morning. It's tired. A good morning to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before... My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Meow. Oh, look! It's Wagahai? Wagahai? Good morning, boy. Meow. I very well might be saying his name wrong. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. How did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. It would indeed be a fine day to die. Uh-oh. What's bothering you, Mr. Sholmes? I've never seen you like this. I knew something looked different. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. It's clean. Uh-oh. Hello, Jurassica? I want to make sure I said that right. How are you today? Mr. Sholmes is so upset. I'm gonna figure out what's wrong. You seemed very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melisonant tones would make flowers bloom. It would. But now, doing good. Just finished trying to play BioShock for an hour, so I needed some relaxed time. Ah! I've seen people play it. I have not attempted that game myself. Have you had a good few days here? Doing well? But now the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? For hours I've bowed. For days even, through the night I've endeavored to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. It is scary. I do not know what game this is though. What are we playing? I'm playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We are actually starting the final chapter. It's chapter 5. Mr. Sholmes here is never sad, so it's very strange to see him this way. He's always very upbeat and very silly and on top of everything, kind of a little crazy. But something's wrong with him this morning. I'm doing great. I've had a good day. Done very, very well. Got nice plans for tomorrow, so I've been doing great. I'm in a good mood. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone. Gone forever. No more recitals of unbridled emotion. Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry. I'm sure it'll come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruhodo. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man. The next, they unmercifully withdraw it. Oh dear. Alright, why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin... If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left, for pity's sake? What is left? Deduction perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but... your desk looks rather empty today. Ah, well done, Miss Susato. Your observational skills do you credit. Oh, no, Mr. Sholmes. They pale in insignificance when compared to yours. You struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analytoscope? That's at Windybank's now. Sorry? Is that Windybank? No, Windybank's the pawnbrokery. Pawn... What? You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? Has some considerable value, you see. Quite underdeservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation becomes so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear Madame, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine! How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbroker is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is? It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbrokering works. Oh. Let's understand exactly. What did you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbrokering works? To the people of London, pawnbrokers are akin to banks. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbrokers of choice. With the money they received in return, they are able to trade happily throughout the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in Inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn should the need arise. Oh, how ingenious. So whenever you have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windy Banks, you see? A pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. Alright, let's look around this room. Hey girl, you have anything to say? We're gonna talk about the cat? Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home then. Oh yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. The drama, I know, it's so drama. It would appear that his previous owner is completely forgotten to him. So typically, I don't know if you've played any of these before or watched anyone play them, but we're a lawyer and we usually deal with, last case we did, the person didn't die, which is surprising. Usually they're murder cases, but no one died in the last chapter, but she got stabbed and was unconscious. So we gotta figure out who does it. So this is the start of this chapter. So chapter is actually called the Hounds of Baskerville, so I don't know where it's gonna take us to, but it should be interesting. It's definitely going to be a Sholmes episode, it feels like. It'd appear his previous... Okay, I guess. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their meows are empty as their hearts of the muses. If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expected you to take him if he could. But pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience. And for a good reason, terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. We got accused for murder and had to defend ourselves in chapter 2. Because someone had brought their pet aboard and caused a whole bunch of issues. Well, I don't mind because Waggy's adorable. Yes, he really is. Oh yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed. You are observant, Runo. Look, I used this. It's my latest invention. What is that thing? I call it the Cat Flappoman. Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right. You can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in a second. And it can do it any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than make a machine to make the cat flap? Well, yes, maybe. But now I can make cat flaps whenever, anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. Oh, what was that? Why go high? Uh-oh. What's he breaking? What was that? Oh no! Uh-oh. Is it breakfast? He's tangled up in your violin! I think he thinks it's a toy. No! What's he doing to it? Oh dear, Mr. Sholmes' precious violin. Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. If the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? We need to find him a case. Well, anyways, I'll put it back where it lives. Shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Okay, let's look around. I'm curious about the shoe up here. Fire's burning comfortably in the grate again today. It's a very different feeling to a Japanese hibachi somehow. Oh, look at that photographic print of a lady displayed on the mantelpiece. Could be... Yes, it must be. It's the woman. Oh, how exciting. Is that supposed to mean something to me? Achievement, the woman. I don't know. Okay, you got achievement for finding a picture of a woman. It looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. Seems very sturdy with an equal sturdy lock. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous. How did you come to that conclusion? These are all mementos of Mr. Sholmes' past cases, I think. If he'd been involved in any case, I wonder if the beefsteak from La Carnival would be on display here. A mysterious shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing man, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection. It looks like an untidy assortment of junk to me rather like what's on my own shelves. Well, you really ought to keep things in order, Mr. Naruhodo. No, not favoritism here at all. No favoritism here. There's all sorts of these shelves. Chemistry, apparatus, books, papers, and a lot of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole fly is going to topple at any moment. Oh, it's such a charmingly untidy collection of paraphernalia, isn't it? Just looks messy to me, like my desk. But you, Mr. Naruhodo, must learn to tidy up after yourself. No favoritism here, there again. Okay, I think we got everything here. Let's check this side of the room. It's definitely more her side. This is where Iris notes down ideas, isn't it? Let's see, what does it say today? Ah, the Boscom Valley Mystery. Oh, how intriguing. It must be the title of Iris' latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us. Susato-san looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most unsavory crime you can imagine. Iris' beautiful tea set is here at the table as usual. A cup of one of her special herbal blends always helps me to relax when I'm feeling the strain. The English pastime of tea has many similarities with our own tea ceremony customs, don't you think? It's the idea of hospitality behind it, that's the essence of tea. That's a charm. Hi there. Got a sudden cough. Has a charming little white shelf and full of charming little bottles too. But the contents of them aren't quite so charming, it seems. Science is the future, Mr. Naruhodo. You can't deny it. I'm saving my money so I can buy some chemistry apparatus as well. Law, chemistry, takedown throws. What diverse skills you boast, Miss Susato. As useful as they are, I'm not sure that my throwing skills are worthy of inclusion in that list. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Iris doing much writing recently. But there's paper already set up in the typewriter. Look as if she's about to start. That reminds me, when I mentioned that Iris was in the process of writing a full-fledged novel, Mr. Natsume was most impressed. Oh yes, Mr. Natsume. That's what I'll be doing too once I'm back in Japan, he said through a tiny clenched fist and teeth. Anything else? We good here? Okay, let's go on this side. Look at Mr. Storm's desk. It's completely clear. Isn't that enormous machine usually on it? We can never hope to understand what goes on in the great detective's mind, Mr. Naruhodo. Why, next time we're invited, we may find he's vacated the entire suite. That's scarily plausible, actually. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. I happened upon it, covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I've made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music? To tolerate this blanche existence? No. There is none. Mr. Sholmes? What, dear madame? What? My thoughts are preoccupied with fantasies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different from normal, don't you think? Hmm? What do you mean, Miss Susato? Oh, Susie's right. Yes, the tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before. Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? What's this? Did someone swap his thing? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Then what? I believe it's an entirely different instrument called the viola. What? Did he pawn that and maybe not get the right one back? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, are you alright? You're right. You're quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then. Ah, I see what must have happened. You do, Iris? This is just a simple mix-up. Sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what's happened if we ask her. Uh-oh. Anything else to look at? No. Uh-oh. He pawned it. What did you mean by mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this viola, I mean, was at Windibanks until last week. Oh, at the pawnbrokers? Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved music partner? There's a proverb from the East with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in hope that it would experience personal growth? Oh, what a wonderful idea. Last week I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument. But it would appear Mr. Windibanks mistakenly furnished me with a tottered fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your ever since was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Pwah, a fine state of affairs this is, and why, I always say, Mr. Naruhodo, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fiddle you every time. But earlier you told us you could think of it as a pawnbroker, as an extended secure vault. Come, Mr. Naruhodo, dilly-dally will get you nowhere. Sorry. Crunching your toast with the vacant aspect. Fessing your coffee so obtusely. Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency in which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windybank's Bakery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Mr. Sato. Without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with the increasing vacant aspects, to press your eggs over ever more obtusely? Alright, say no more. Let's go then. He doesn't need me to go get it. Don't worry, Runo. Be happy to heat it up for you once you again later. Thank you, Iris. As it happened, I'm rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker looks like. Alright. Actually go down to the pawnbrokers. So this is a British pawnbrokery? Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid my eyes on. Oh, Susato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is really thrilling for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we're here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We were calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly, Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of his fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, sir, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we're potential customers after all. We're disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windybank of our ire. Come! The fight is afoot. Oh, okay. Naturally, you'll recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes. The second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windybank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so very sorry, sir. A really unforgivable man, inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends. I shall have to take my own life. I don't think that will never be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Uh-oh. Ah, yes. It was you, Mr. Mr. Sholmes took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry. As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch a violin when I heard, ah, here it is. You did? And when I turned to controvert you'd taken the violin and left, sir. That sounds like him. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly on my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine. Phew. It appears that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windybank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Harlock Sholmes without that questionable disposition now, would you? I do believe you may be right, sir. Ah, it's either laughing or crying, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needed to remind you of the particular collection of items you brought through my door in the past. Oh, particular items? In the extreme, madam. For example, the unpublished manuscripts of an eponymous work? The novels of Sherlock Holmes or some such. Oh my, a new full-fledged novel? An unpublished? A story I've yet to read, you mean? Ah, forgive me. Wait, before you die, you must tell me more. I must know more. Tell me everything. Wow, Susata-san is really fired up now. Is it really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought it in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windybank. For a chest like that? 1 shilling, sir. Not a farthing more. It has something very great value inside. Indeed, a latest manuscript recounting the adventures of one Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it'll be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Shum's latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Shum, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then I kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you, in my life. It's all really strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, a gentleman from the east, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 for it? Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry. Ah, but for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas, no less. The color are exquisite, the design exotic, Eastern artistry to its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've been suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said the pawnbrokers are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of a secure stowage. If, in that time, they repay the original sum to me, plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see in the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed, then? That's right, ma'am. That's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is me to end it all. The very idea, Mr. Windybank, is in obscurity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. Say, the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device with which Mr. Windybank has installed here in his shop. I call it the red-handed recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windybank? What was that deep sigh about? I have a feeling he doesn't have it going. What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are 2 just below the ceiling. I can see what's happening to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a print from camera set to record the activity of shop's counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in the dark. Really? That's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, this identity would be somewhat merely exposed. But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. Then what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your advice has been giving me some cause for distrust of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Winterbank? Surely they are nothing but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one, but 2 cameras in my shop after all, which means I must pay for 100 utterly useful prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of your preferred pawnbroker, you know? My dear fellows, we verge on the age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heavens help us. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Winterbank. Perhaps this might mark the end of our particular items you try to pop him. Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not! Sorry. I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. That's not really what I meant. Good day to you then, Mr. Winterbank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. So, Mr. Naruhodo. Now we can explore at last. Oh, time to examine stuff. Look at this! What could this lovely, big, shiny box be? That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country. Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Ah, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of an angel. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is on the larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There's a metal disc inside, on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. Oh my goodness, what a simple, delightful machine. Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Winterbank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. Ah, I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. Certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommend it or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Winterbank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Before he sleeps, he places it in a small pot, which he slides under his pillow. How on earth do you know about that, Mr. Sholmes? I am a detective, sir. It's my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither can for nor wish to retain. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder, and the prime suspect this pawnbroker is ever burglared. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there. Mr. Winterbank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself in all sorts of trouble. Which might explain the things that catch my eye far more than the ledger. There's a revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering in an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Winterbank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd blow his brains out, indeed, in recompense for his blunder. Oh my. But in any case, of course he'd never do such a thing. How could he even suggest it? What an assortment of things here on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you can care to imagine. Those are forfeited items offered by sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn or colloquially pop an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the items for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now we've explained it, I've noticed the little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, no one can extend the period of safekeeping. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform never embodies my student spirit. Anything else over here? I don't think so. Now what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to let you, my dear fellows, what you're looking at is a stereoscope. Fascinating. It is amply named, I assure you. Look through the eyepiece and look for yourself. Oh, I should be lied to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there's something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you'll need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is a little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, you must see at once. Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It is no magic, my dear madam. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. Oh. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th April, today's date. Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, tear off the front page and reveal the following day's date. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windybank. Who was it who walked out here with the wrong violin before? Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see, so I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Oh, yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. Look at this, whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah. There's a small catch out here. Just here, look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, that's amazing. It's some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we've never managed to put back the way it was before. What are you two doing? What, us? Nothing. No way, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows look through. Feels though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. What? Only 2 pence for it? That ain't fair, you know it. Arkle is barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over there by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. Have you ever had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Oh, it's her. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh, yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGill's trial 2 months ago. Yep. Her name is Gina Lestrand, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, reliving people of their purses. But commonly called a pickpocket. Uh-huh. Gordon Bennett, you lot. Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. What? You remember me then, do ya? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So, what are you doing in here? Down and out like the rest of us? Nothing to eat? Come to pop that black weasel? Star coat, have ya? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day, unless I've much mistaken. You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Mr. Sholmes! So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Let me see that article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windbank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't need your help from some stuck-up D. Get on my business. Go on, or I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I'll happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there's really no room for negotiating here. What is it that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you, go on. Leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Susato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Mrs. Strayed. Yeah, well, I am, alright. I'm a Londonier just like everyone else. That's a problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. What thing probably don't even belong to her? She probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I can see it written all over your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo. Alright then, I'm just gonna come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, I don't know. Best to answer that really, suppose. Sometimes. You're not gonna deny it either, Miss Lestrade. But this time, alright, I swear, this thing belongs to me. This that Mr. Winterbank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Gotta examine him. Mr. Winterbank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It's a music disc, it looks like. Seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface. Ah, this is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box? What, you don't even know what a music box is? The Eastern lot ain't too savvy, huh? I know what a music box is, we've just never seen one of those discs before. The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays. So incredible, tell us, what tune is on this disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There's so many different types of music box, you see? British made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. Ah, I see. That's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm offering more than I should at a penny. What a pack of lies. He told me he did. He said it was, well... Who? Never mind. It just ain't right, that's all. The disc worth good money. I know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? Oh. She's been in before, of course. This little tatterdemalion. I see. And brought some dubious articles or another with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So, is there something dubious about the disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry, what do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. A storage ticket? So, Miss Lestraine has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what she needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight, but she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest. I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell, Mr. Windybank. The little scamp is wearing it, madam. It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc then? How does that come into all this? Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to pawn. The girl and I agreed a price. I doubt that ticket was hers to get the jacket. I don't think so. I'm confused. I thought you said that Mrs. Strain brought a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. For this heavy black coat, which you returned to her care as I understood it. That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went riffling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it? For quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up. I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Mrs. Strain, may I ask what... Deposit... Oh, I missed that. Well, me... It doesn't really appear to be your size. The old man, it's the old man's, ain't it? Is it, Mr. Strayed? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Who's this picture? Postcard English gentleman. Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What your problem, eh? There's no problem, as long as you remove yourself of a matter of discard with the proprietor. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Look, ain't obvious. I ain't done nothing with... I'm done talking with him. Yeah, I ain't done talking with him yet. You think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you're an imprudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you? And how do you know who I am? Question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courage to even remember the face of your victims, it seems. What? You mean, from you? Broker? Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pickpocket thief has just renamed an article from you, no? Yes, article in question belonged to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel, and needless to say, any music box discs too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me old man's, or it was. Now it's mine. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes? I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman is saying? What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it, obviously? I swear on my life, I never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now. No, I swear to God. I was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself. Those wretched pickpockets. Yet again? Oh yes, as you can see, I am a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by these backslum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Doesn't look like something he can wear either, though. Come along, Miss Lestrade. Give the good gent back his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to call the police. Hold on, why does everyone think it's me? Just look at this dandy cove. You think I'm the dodgy one? I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you. Well, what about evidence? Yeah. Where's your evidence that I stole something, huh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman? Of course, we only need to consult Mr. Windybake's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant. I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh. I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine. But why not? Well, now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. But then how can you know if an article belongs to the person asked to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple. Good sir, might I trouble you for the watch word associated with the article in question? Of course, it's Professor. Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without doubt. A watchword? Interesting. So, about the watchwords, Mr. Windybank. As I just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Shums now, was it? Great detectives have no dark secrets? None at all. Yes, well, anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of a number of numbers used to unlock a vault. The data deposit a description and a watchword you uniquely identify each item. And of course, when I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. If that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article. That's right, sir. Yes, just as soon as the requisite fee is paid. And I have to supply you with the information you required already, but for the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposit 2 months ago on the 15th February with a watchword of Professor. Why did he give it to her then? All perfectly correct information, sir. But ow! Really, this is beyond a joke now. There's no further room for doubt. Ugh. Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you're not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, well, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown-colored soup, dressed with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else. What was that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps anyways, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your name first before inquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes. I'm Rinosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student at law, really. My name is Susata Mikitoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict. Yes, Eggert Benedict. Enchante. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but the name is suspicious. Now to the matter at hand. My overcoat. Return it at once. To someone with the style to carry it off. Every move he makes, every breath he takes. Can't stand watching him. It does look better on him now. So let that be the end of the matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Mr. Egg Benedict. Sir. With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. This is why I ate grown-ups. Just because I'm a driver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the coat pocket, if you please, broker. Oh, but of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Just this one? Pardon, sir? I was expecting another. That is, I just posited another disc. Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir, that was deposited with me was merely the overcoat. It just happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now. So, Gutterling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, are you? Says you, I don't know nothing about it. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc. It's mine. What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Oh my. Yes, there's blood on the disc. Because of all the sharp little bumps. Man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright. I mean, it belongs to me old man. So you're not having it. Or you take it. Me? If I hang on to it, they'll have it off me again. So you keep hold of it. Mrs. Strain, why is this so important to her? Metal disc used to play music which made a storage disc. Music box disc has been entered to the court record. Oh, that's pretty important. You there, in the black livery. Hand that disc to me once, please. No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars. Ugh, what do I do now? How am I going to resolve this? Wow, Miss Lestrange is really looking daggers at that mysterious gentleman. We need to do something to calm things down before she loses control and attacks him again. Go get Sholmes in here. Look at those piercing eyes. He's clearly in no mood to talk. We have to do something quickly before this mysterious gentleman leaves to fetch the police or something. So, there he is. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes? Why are you examining such keen interest there? As you enjoy a caramel, I see. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry. After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows. Cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in a jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see that my downfall had done to me. Oh, he's upset again. So feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place. Well, since he's truly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left. 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Then why on earth didn't you join the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know. Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you. It would seem that in my inference are correct. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us that you've solved the entire case once again. My dear madam, sometimes I wonder were my genius for deduction to be commoditized, how much would I pawn it for? It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration, but who knows if it'll help to resolve this issue in between Miss Lestrange and the mysterious gentleman. What's the right thing to do here? Now listen to him. Otherwise, he might be sad. Well, Miss Lestrange, it would appear you find yourself in something of a predicament. Where the blue blazes have you been, eh? Pardon? There's a lady in trouble. A true gent's supposed to be there to help. Straight away. No, later. Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Egbert Benedict. You have, in my eyes, a veritable encyclopedic array of curiosity about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon. The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation when you orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. It would seem that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction. Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That's precisely the pained expression I was looking for. So, shall we begin? The time has come for yet another Herlock Sholmes logic and reasoning spectacular. The great deduction. The game is afoot. Mysterious man's aim. First of all, we must ask ourselves at what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. as revealed by that which you're holding in your hand. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is a staff recruitment flyer. Piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement for this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would have soon realized that a man of your appearance has no such need of such employment. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutch to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. A contradiction of which I speak of course. The missing ferrule. Also, the initials on it are not his initials. End of the walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wooden tip. I like his glasses. And yet, detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of the stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there is only one conclusion. The rod that you're holding in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. It's a sword. Isn't it? You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding the riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle? Muse I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod. It's the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. To tunnel underneath the pawnbrokery. A great crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel? What on earth do you propose I would expect to find there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose? Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is an ample reason. As you're only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glaze is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter which the eyes have inadvertently drawn. This letter gives notice of public work to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewage works, beneath the shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs underneath the bank on the opposite side of the road. This Magnus has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway that flows in the very close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devise a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. Master plan! Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lucrative scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it? Mr. Benedict. I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. A postcard of the Great Exposition. Afraid you've quite lost me. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exposition will soon be underway, and the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently sit in the vault of the bank, on the other side of the road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of which sits in the vault of that bank, a special reserve fund for the Great Exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. But he just told everyone. Still the Great Expedition's reserve funds. This concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this pawnbrokering puzzle. Real quick, before we get to fixing his stuff, I am going to hit the restroom real quick. I will be right back. Okay, I am back. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Mr. Naruto? An impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true that what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it's one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictness of his confidence. But you just announced it to everyone here, rather loudly in fact. Ah. And if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There could be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal. But what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you've revealed the secret. Oh. Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will. He already has plenty of shovels here after all. On my life, I assure you I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them. Once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruto, an excellent idea. Not offended by that at all. Well then, Mr. Naruto, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to the great deduction again and see if we can message it into shape. Very well then, let us start over once from the beginning of Herlock Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular. Mystery man's name. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption chicken stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you are holding in your hand. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor? Yes, an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. Question is, where? What did Mr. Benedict bring Mr. Benedict here in this particular room and time? Silent chat. It certainly is a flyer from Mr. Windibank's shop. Let's see. Windibank wants you. Pawnbroker's assistant required. It's an eye-catching advertisement, that's for sure. I've seen the same flyer appear inside the shop, I think. Perhaps Mr. Windibank is always in need of more staff. Mr. Benedict came to apply for a job? It's just too hard to believe. That's a proper English gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at the beautiful polished brass on the handle. Yes, but Mr. Shums is right. It's not the sort of handle you usually see on a cane. Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. And that's just guesswork, of course. Perhaps you could adopt a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. It might rather suit you. I have a feeling I might argue with the sword around my waist. Anything? Scribbles. Oh! Look at the scribbling notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrand. Height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, scrubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness. There's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down too. Windowman's pawnbrokery shop, Baker Street. Redemption deadline, 15th April. Which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all this information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? We're going to present that. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing in the sketch on the reverse side of the flyer pertains to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and to Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery here. Ah. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade, so after she'd stolen the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windibank's pawnbrokery, and today the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So, you wait outside for the young girls matching the description you have written down to arrive? And you have gone to some greats to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwillingly clutched to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak of course, is the missing ferrule. What's a ferrule? It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, that bit that makes a nice clacking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly. Mr. Shums is right. It appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't, though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Shums identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's something secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we not know. Well, we do know the initials are wrong. Look here, Miss Susato. There's some letters on the handle. Ah yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letter of the names. So Herlock Sholmes would be HS, you mean? That's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously... Oh, AG. Why does it feel as though that's not quite right? Okay. Take that! The initialing. The contradiction of which I speak of course, is the initialing. Ah, most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Egbert Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Yet in the most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't... As you said before that you'd had that cane for years. Ugh. So don't try to tell us that you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, You hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. Egg Benedict is kind of a hard name to agree that's your name. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you overtly facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding the riddle you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what happened here. Miss Lestraine redeemed the fine-looking overcoat. Now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestraine from a written description, which suggests that everything else he told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Oh. Ripping it. Oh. Seeing how the shoulder here is coming apart, look. So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. Now I think it was probably the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be very tightly fitted. Sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he wouldn't have hoped of fastening it in the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry. How can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought. Okay. There. Doesn't fit you, sir. The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle you see. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so badly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. The catalog of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windybank. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. To abscond with a redeemed item. Okay. Alright, the great crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you had in planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry particle of ponage? Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place? How could I possibly have known the relevant details? Yes, c'est pas? Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you're only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. By the ledger. Oh, and your furtive glaze is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider how one might come to learn of a secret watchword related to the property of another. The method is revealed by the council notice on the counter on which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Nope. The direction of the deduction was changed rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talking of tunnel into sewers, which is a pity because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know the word, Mr. Windybank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know the word, Mr. Windybank would allow you to redeem an article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, Could the gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Figured it'd be in there. Look at this, Miss Susato. Ah, it appears to be a memento. A memo that Mr. Winterbank has scribbled to himself. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Winterbank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him, right before their eyes. And an alarming clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see.
Take that!
The method is revealed by the note lid on the counter which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedures whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down the response uttered on the note lid he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches with that of the article in question. I expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But this diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windybank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword in his common practice, you observed him writing the word professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawn article from the Miss Lestrade. Master plan! Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this ludicrous scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For I'm ill-fitted overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, but it's less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The article we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which according to Mr. Winterbank isn't even worth a penny. Yet this man was such great lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we? Really? It's better to have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. We only have one item.
Take that!
Nope, what's wrong? What precisely was your intention with that, Mr. Naruhodo? Just following the natural progression of the deduction. Sometimes the truth hurts. I need to probably check out the music box discs. I bet I could inspect it. I messed up there. Okay. Okay. La 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 la. Must be of value somehow to someone. This is the last piece of the puzzle. I'd better have another look through the evidence. Yeah, okay. We need to examine it. That's what I needed to do. Form gilded. Oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck onto the reverse side of the disc. Look, and the scribbled word or two. It looks like somebody's name. Or Mr. McGilded. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is, Mr. Naruhodo. A name I shall never forget. For as long as I live. But why? Why is his name on this? The music box disc information has been updated in the court. Okay, so now we can present it.
Take that!
You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads, for Mr. McGilded. Ugh. Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded. An unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his lone mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusual small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Egbert Benedict. But the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. I wonder why. To acquire an item deposited by Mr. Is he her father then? Or was it something she stole from him? Well, well. Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected here in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Susato. Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day of which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is 15th April, so 2 months ago today would have been 15th February, sir. That's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposit at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, 15th February. It's precisely the day on which the murder took place. Omnibus murder. And 10:30 in the evening. Precisely the time in which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However, I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Ugh, what do I do? I don't know. Will I die? Can we save it right here? I'm going to save it, and then we're going to tell him no, I think. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Mr. Windibank, this is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I would have to take my own life. Mr. Windibank, no. Right, that's enough. Gilby told him no. We worked. Inspector Gregson. Inspector. That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now, what's all this about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last. Mum was away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. You seem you have the upper hand. Right, you lot have some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with such petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Windibank was very nearly met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I could tell. Oh, dear. And the whole lot of Britain would meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of this case I'm supposed to be working on. What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. Oh, it sparked his interest. He wants to help now. No matter. It's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Let's watch his magic efficiency. Oh, yep, there it goes. Ah! He's getting away. Get after him, lads. Whistle the beat, officers too. Sir! Are we okay? He didn't steal from us, did he? There's been a spat of thefts at pawn shops around here recently. But we've fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in mourning. Oh, yes? They're really picking at us for our black clothes, aren't they? I'll be taking that whatever it is of Mr. McGill's down to the yard, thank you very much. Hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to Mr. Gilden has to be taken as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to... I missed it. It's all yours, Inspector. Urgh. And so, we've handed Mr. McGilden's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and we're summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. To be continued. Dun 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 dun. That was a fun chapter. It's interesting. So we're working to figure out, I think, what happened to Mr. McGilden. That would be... I'd like to know what happened, so... I wonder how long this last chapter is going to be. But I hope you've all enjoyed this. I have, and it's just been wonderful. I suspect a couple more streams, and then we'll probably have this game all wrapped up and done. But I hope you continue to watch and enjoy, and if you ever want to catch any of the previous ones, they are on my YouTube. And I'll see you all next time in another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Bye, everyone!